Okay, I took the water manifold off. As you can see, it's full of scale and rust and a bunch of that stuff. So one of the reasons you take the head off of I take the head off of a tractor that's been sitting for a long time is real obvious. They've been worked really hard, you know, and they've used whatever water source was available, be it pond water, well water, whatever. And it's a million heat cycles on it, you know, working it and then letting it cool down. This is what you get inside the head. This is where that water manifold went. And how would you ever clean this stuff out without taking the head off? And how is it ever going to cool efficiently with all this stuff inside it? So, got the water manifold off, and I'm fixing to pop off the head for the first time. And we'll see how it goes and see what's underneath it and see what the cylinders look like, and if I've got bent valves or stuck valves or bad valve guides or bad valves themselves. So here we go.
How heavy is it?
About 100 pounds, I think. It's all there. Just got to find a place to grab it.
Can you take other parts off to make it lighter, or is there no way?
That's about it. That's all that's left of it. Hardest part is finding something to grab a hold of here and pick it up.
So you had unbolted it and wedged the screwdrivers in it already?
Yeah, I broke the seal. Now the tricky part. Okay, so I'm just going to set it down over here on this little bench. There. So there's the head. And there's the cylinders and the pistons.
So what are you looking at?
So it was stuck right here on this one. It was what they call ring stuck. So I'm going to look at the cylinder and see what kind of shape it's in, and that'll hold out just fine. I'm also going to look, I'm going to pull this head gasket, and then I'm going to look at the block and make sure there's no cracks, but I don't see any cracked pistons. I see a bunch of grime. Some more of that good stuff I was telling you about inside that. Every one of these water ports has got this stuff in it, so I'll get that cleaned out well. But the cylinders, you put your hand in there and feel them, they're not bad at all. They feel really good. A little bit of a ring groove at the top. You can see where this piston's stuck. Right here, see this groove around it? That metal, those rings were stuck right here, so this will hone out.
Can you put the light on that?
You can see the little dark groove right here where the ring had stuck, but it came pretty free. Engine got free really easily. And I pulled the push rods out of these holes, and none of those looked bent. They were just really dry and dirty. So we'll pull this head gasket off. That's a good one, old metal one. But
can you reuse it, or is it not usable?
No, you can't. You're just asking for trouble.
So you never can reuse them?
I've had fair luck reusing the copper ones. If I put a brand new copper one on it and then something goes wrong and I have to take the head off right away, those seem to be, I heat them up, re-anneal that copper with a torch, and they seem to seal up well. That's why I like going with those copper ones if I can at all, just for case I have something doesn't go right. I have an option where I'm not dropping another $100 or so on another head gasket.
So you have to scrape it off?
No, it comes off pretty easily. They didn't put any kind of sealer on it. They put it on dry, and you know, you're supposed to be able to do that. I always just put copper coat on it because it just, a little bit more adhesion's not gonna hurt nothing, I don't think.
So, if it looks really good, could you reuse it, or no?
Well, I guess if you wanted to, you could, but what happens is when you torque it, when you torque every one of these nuts down on this head, it compresses this gasket. And there's a, and when you compress it, it's a one-time compression. It's about all you get out of it. You can't ever, they don't recommend you reuse them, and because once it's squished, it's squished. There's no unsquishing. Let's see, I don't see, let me grab a rag. Look here a little bit. Look in the thin places on the block and see if we've got any cracks. Anything like that, like right here between these liners where the block is really thin. And it looks really good. Don't see any obvious cracks. I don't see any water in anywhere where water's been seeping and leaking, because it'll leave a trail. It looks really good. Now I want to see what the, wow, those are big. I want to see what the bore is on it, see what the standard bore.
What are big?
They're just really thick liners, so it may be standard bore actually. So I'm just going to do a quick measurement here, just to see what the bore is. Give or take, because there's a ring groove on the top, but 3 3/4 bore. So that's bone stock standard bore. They haven't put bigger liners and pistons in it. A lot of times when they would rebuild them, they would go up to a 4-inch bore and give it a little more power. And if you look right here, see the inside wall of this sleeve or liner, and see how thick it is to the outside wall right there? You know, that's a good, you know, about 3/8 of an inch from here to that little seam right there.
Mm-hmm.
What they would do is they would just, you know, this outside has to stay the same size. They would just make these a larger inside diameter, and you could put a bigger piston in them. But these pistons look really good, and the liners do too. So worst case scenario, I might have to put a set of rings in it, but
Will you have to lower the other two pistons to see?
yeah, I want to. I was going to do that next. So I'm just going to roll it through a little bit. I want to wipe off this pistons before I do it. That way I'm not keep as much crap out of the cylinder as we're able, without tying myself up in a huge knot about it, because it's all got to get cleaned up anyway.
So
But
what'll be the next action after?
I'm going to look at the head. I haven't looked at it yet. But I was more concerned. I wanted to look at these pistons and liners. See, you can still see a little of the water on top of this piston. It didn't have much. It had a tiny, tiny bit. There's also penetrating oil on that. So, but see, they look really good in there. I think I could probably just get away with honing it.
What do you mean?
Where you have a hone, what you do is you scuff or cross-hatch the inside of this, and it knocks the glaze off of the inside of these liners.
Why would you do that?
Then you can put a new set of rings on it and then bump your compression back up again. To put rings on it, you have to pull the pan off and push the pistons down through the bottom, or push them up through the top, however way you want to go. And they say you can get them out through the handhole, but I don't know anybody that's ever accomplished that. But then you can take them off and clean the ring grooves and then put new rings in it and bump your compression back up again.
So you'll just clean this before you set it back, and then, like you just said, you'll score out the inside of the pistons.
Yeah, you cross hatch it with a hone.
What's a hone?
3 stones that go on a little spring thing that goes in there. You connect to a drill and you spin it, and it knocks this glaze off and it cross hatches it.
So will we look at the head next, or are you going to show me the hone?
Here's a hone right there. That's where the hone is. You put that in the cylinder and it springs open and you turn it with a drill. So now we're going to look at the head. Right here. So I'm going to move it over there to that table. Don't blow it too, taking this time to get them out. See here, we're going to look for obvious cracks in the thinnest part of the head, where the metal's going to be the thinnest. We're going to hope we don't have any. And I don't see any. And we're looking at valves.
You didn't have it. You had bore scoped it, so you had no indication that you'd have any cracks, right?
Well, I can see inside the cylinder with a bore scope, but I can't tell for cracks. And ideally, you want to do what's called a magnaflux, where you magnetize it and put it in a tray full of metal shavings, and the metal shavings will actually pull towards the crack. But these old heads are seriously thick, and you got to be kind of silly to crack a head on one of these. I haven't come across many that's had cracked heads, but you know, if they drain the water out of it, chances are it's good. These valves,
Is that the main cause of cracked heads? Is somebody lets water freeze in them?
Yep, that's exactly what causes cracked heads or a cracked block. You get water in it, they don't drain it, they get caught with winter, or they don't have antifreeze in it, and it freezes and busts.
So one of the reasons you're doing this is because you had that valve that kept sticking.
Yep.
So is that something that you'll look at in here somewhere?
Actually, I need to take it out and see if it's bent.
That's one of those, right? Those.
Yeah, it's right here. It was this guy right here. This valve.
The one that's kind of more rust colored?
This rusty one right here. It could very well just be rusty. Most of these valves look like they have a lot of room left where I can just do a little valve grinding with valve grinding compound and get them to seat right. This one is a little stuck. But
so seated right is where they're flush with
where it closes. What they do is they wear together. The valve seat where the bottom inside of that valve